Theistic Christian Satanism. Theistic Christian Satanism is a belief system that combines elements of Christianity with the worship or veneration of Satan as a literal deity, a real, supernatural being. This belief system has various interpretations depending on theological and philosophical perspectives. Core beliefs. Theistic Christian Satanists generally share a few common tenets. Belief in Satan as a real entity. Unlike symbolic or philosophical Satanists, theistic Christian Satanists often worship, revere, or align with Satan as a deity, angel, or godlike figure. Integration of Christian theology. While rejecting mainstream Christian interpretations, adherents typically acknowledge the Bible, Jesus, God, and Satan within their belief structure, though they may reinterpret these figures in alternative ways. Rejection of Yahweh's authority. Many believe that the biblical God, Yahweh, is a tyrannical ruler, while Satan represents freedom, enlightenment, or the true creator worthy of worship. Varied views on Jesus. Some theistic Christian Satanists see Jesus as a prophet or an enlightened figure who either opposed Yahweh or was misunderstood. Others reject Jesus entirely, seeing him as part of Yahweh's control system. Historical and cultural roots. Gnostic influences. Some interpretations draw from Gnostic Christianity, where the God of the Old Testament is seen as a false or lesser god. The demiurge, and Satan, or Lucifer, is viewed as a liberator bringing true knowledge. Luciferian tradition. Some adherents align their beliefs with Luciferianism, where Lucifer is seen as a bringer of wisdom, rather than an evil adversary. Medieval and occult influences. Various occult movements have blended Christian mysticism with satanic elements, influencing modern interpretations. Generational Christian Satanism. Generational Christian Satanism refers to the passing down of satanic beliefs and practices through family bloodlines, while maintaining an outward association with Christianity. In some cases, families have secretly worshipped Satan or Lucifer for generations, integrating their occult traditions with Christian symbolism and rituals. This phenomenon is sometimes linked to elite or secretive groups that maintain hidden esoteric knowledge while publicly adhering to mainstream Christian doctrine. Some believe that these families have preserved ancient traditions of rebellion against Yahweh, seeing Satan as a liberator rather than an adversary. This duality, professing Christianity outwardly while practicing Satanism in private, has historically allowed such beliefs to persist undetected. In some interpretations, these families trace their lineage back to occult traditions tied to early heresies, Gnostic sects, or medieval secret societies. Worship of Baal, Molech, and Ashtaroth in Satanic philosophy. Within some theistic satanic traditions, Baal, Molech, and Ashtaroth are venerated as powerful deities, often integrated into a satanic framework. Baal is frequently equated with Satan himself, seen as a kingly, warrior-like figure opposing Yahweh's rule. Molech, historically associated with child sacrifice, is viewed as a dark force, embodying ultimate power and destruction. Ashtaroth, a demon in Christian demonology, but once worshipped as a goddess, is often seen as a source of wisdom and hidden knowledge. These deities were worshipped by ancient Canaanites and neighboring cultures, often condemned by biblical prophets as rivals to Yahweh. In some occult traditions, the worship of these entities is seen as reclaiming pre-Christian, pre-Jewish spiritual authority, acknowledging the power of gods who were demonized by monotheism. Forced Christian converts and secret religious practices. Throughout history, Christianity has been spread through both voluntary conversion and force. In many cases, conquered peoples, or those living under Christian rule, were pressured or coerced into adopting the faith. However, forced converts often continued practicing their original beliefs in secret, while outwardly conforming to Christian doctrine. This was seen among Jews and Muslims during the Spanish Inquisition, where many converts continued their original faith in private. Similarly, During the Christianization of Europe, many pagans blended their ancestral traditions with Christian elements, resulting in a form of hidden syncretism. Some of these underground practices evolved into occult traditions that persisted alongside Christianity, sometimes manifesting as heretical movements that challenged church authority. These groups may have laid the foundation for secret satanic traditions within Christian societies. Child sacrifice to Yahweh and Baal in early Judaism. Child sacrifice was a documented practice in the ancient Near East, including among early Israelites. While later Jewish tradition condemned the practice, evidence suggests that in early periods, Israelites participated in child sacrifice rituals, either to Yahweh or to Baal. The Bible itself references the practice, with figures like King Manasseh accused of offering children as burnt sacrifices, 2 Kings 21:2-6. The story of Abraham being commanded to sacrifice Isaac, only to be stopped at the last moment, reflects a shift away from human sacrifice while still acknowledging its historical presence. Archaeological findings and biblical texts suggest that Israelites engaged in rituals similar to their Canaanite neighbors, blurring the lines between Yahweh worship and Baal worship. Over time, Yahweh worship evolved into strict monotheism, condemning these earlier practices. Since Christianity emerged from Judaism, its theological roots are deeply intertwined with this complex history, making it impossible to separate Christian doctrine from its Jewish origins. The Sabbatean Frankist movement and forced conversion to Islam and Christianity. The Sabbatean Frankist movement was a sect within Judaism that emerged in the 17th and 18th centuries, centered around the figures of 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗍 and later Jacob Frank. 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗍, who proclaimed himself the Jewish Messiah, shocked the Jewish world by converting to Islam under pressure from the Ottoman Sultan in 1666. Many of his followers, known as Sabbatians, followed suit, outwardly embracing Islam while secretly maintaining their mystical Jewish beliefs. Later, Jacob Frank took these ideas further, promoting a form of religious antinomianism, belief in breaking religious laws to achieve redemption, and leading his followers to convert to Christianity in the 18th century while still practicing their esoteric traditions in secret. These forced conversions allowed Sabbatean Frankists to infiltrate religious and political institutions, while maintaining a hidden doctrine that blended Jewish mysticism with elements of Islam and Christianity. The movement's belief in redemption through sin and its clandestine nature led to accusations of deep-rooted influence in various religious and secret societies, fueling discussion about hidden power structures within Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Aleister Crowley and his religious philosophy rooted in Jewish doctrine. Aleister Crowley, the infamous occultist and founder of 𝗧𝗿𝗱𝗶𝗁𝗍, drew heavily from Jewish mysticism, particularly the Kabbalah, in shaping his esoteric religious philosophy. Crowley's system was deeply influenced by Hermetic Kabbalah, a mystical framework rooted in Jewish teachings that he adapted into his own magical practices. The structure of the tree of life, gematria, numerical interpretation of scripture, and concepts of divine emanations all played a role in his occult teachings. Additionally, his study of the Torah and Talmud informed his understanding of magic, divine names, and ritual practices. Crowley saw himself as a prophet of a new era, similar to messianic figures in Jewish tradition, and sought to create a syncretic spiritual system blending elements of Western esotericism, Eastern mysticism, and Jewish mystical doctrines. His philosophy emphasized personal will, 𝗧𝗏𝗻, as the highest law, echoing certain interpretations of Kabbalistic teachings that view humanity as co-creators with the divine. Anton LaVey, Michael Aquino, and the creation of Satanic religions. Anton LaVey, born Howard Stanton LaVey, and Michael Aquino, both of Jewish descent, played key roles in shaping modern Satanism. LaVey founded the Church of Satan in 1966, promoting an atheistic form of Satanism that rejected the worship of a literal devil and instead embrace Satan as a symbol of individualism, power, and rebellion. His philosophy drew upon Nietzschean thought, Ayn Rand's objectivism, and elements of Jewish cultural identity, particularly in its emphasis on intellectualism, self-preservation, and challenging religious orthodoxy. Michael Aquino, originally a member of the Church of Satan, later broke away to establish the Temple of Set, a more theistic Satanic order that recognized Set, an Egyptian version of the Canaanite, Phoenician Baal, as a real spiritual force. Both figures shaped the landscape of contemporary Satanism, with their Jewish heritage playing an implicit role in their intellectual and philosophical approaches to religion. Their influence helped create structured, codified Satanic movements that continue to challenge mainstream religious thought. Malcolm J. and the secular Jewish origins of the Satanic Temple. Malcolm J., a pseudonym for one of the co-founders of the Satanic Temple in Salem, Massachusetts, is a self-described secular Jew who has played a crucial role in shaping modern Satanism as a socio-political movement. Unlike previous forms of Satanism that were either theistic or explicitly rooted in individualism, J.'s approach to Satanism is primarily activist and symbolic, using Satan as a figure of resistance against religious authoritarianism. Founded in 2013, alongside Lucien Greaves, the Satanic Temple presents itself as a non-theistic religious organization that promotes secularism, individual rights, and social justice. Under J.'s influence, the Satanic Temple has focused on legal battles advocating for the separation of church and state, LGBTQ rights, and reproductive freedom. His Jewish background, though secular, informs the Temple's commitment to challenging religious dogma and authoritarian structures, mirroring historical Jewish traditions of questioning religious authority and intellectual debate. Unlike the theistic approach of Michael Aquino, or the self-indulgent individualism of LaVeyan Satanism, J.'s Satanic Temple views Satan as a cultural and literary symbol of defiance against oppression. This interpretation is deeply rooted in the Jewish tradition of challenging dominant religious narratives, as seen in Jewish mysticism and philosophical traditions. The Satanic Temple draws inspiration from figures like Milton's Satan in Paradise Lost, using Satan as a metaphor for the struggle against religious and political tyranny rather than an object of worship. J.'s role in the Satanic Temple reflects broader historical patterns of Jewish involvement in secular, countercultural, and revolutionary movements. Many Jewish intellectuals have historically led movements challenging religious and political orthodoxy. From Karl Marx's critique of religion to Freud's psychoanalytic deconstruction of faith, the Satanic Temple's legal activism, protests, and use of religious freedom laws to challenge Christian dominance in public institutions align with this historical pattern. As a secular Jew, J.'s approach to Satanism is not about spirituality, but about using religious identity strategically to challenge Christian hegemony in America. Practices and worship. Practices among theistic Christian Satanists vary widely, but common elements may include ritual worship. Some conduct rituals that invoke Satan or Lucifer in a manner similar to Christian prayer, but directed towards Satan. Biblical reinterpretation. Adherents may study the Bible, but reframe its narratives, often seeing Satan as the hero rather than the villain. Magic and occultism. Some incorporate ceremonial magic, sigil work, or divination into their spiritual practices. Personal liberation. Many focus on self-empowerment, spiritual growth, and defying mainstream religious constraints. Criticism and controversy. Christian rejection. Mainstream Christian denominations universally condemn theistic Christian Satanism, viewing it as heretical and spiritually dangerous. Satanic community divisions. Even within Satanism, many atheistic or symbolic Satanists, such as the Jewish Church of Satan, distance themselves from theistic interpretations. The common denominator, Judaism. At the core of Christianity, Islam, and even heretical movements like Sabbatean Frankism is Judaism, serving as the foundational religion from which these belief systems emerged. Christianity was born from Jewish messianic expectations, with Jesus and his early followers being Jews who reinterpreted Hebrew scripture. Islam, too, acknowledges Jewish prophets and builds upon monotheistic traditions rooted in Judaism. Even in cases of forced conversion, whether it be Jewish converts to Christianity or Islam, or the clandestine Sabbatean Frankists, Jewish theological and mystical traditions persisted beneath the surface. This demonstrates how Judaism, despite being a minority faith in the global religious landscape, has had an outsized influence on shaping religious history, philosophy, and even occult traditions that later emerged in opposition to mainstream monotheism. Whether in traditional faiths or in hidden esoteric sects, the imprint of Judaism remains a common thread linking seemingly divergent religious movements. Conclusion: theistic Christian Satanism represents a complex and controversial spiritual path that blends elements of Christianity with the veneration of Satan as a real deity. It challenges mainstream religious narratives, offering an alternative interpretation of biblical figures, theology, and spiritual authority. While some adherents draw from Gnostic traditions, Luciferian philosophy, or occult mysticism, others focus on personal empowerment and rebellion against what they perceive as oppressive religious systems. Historically, the roots of these beliefs are deeply intertwined with broader theological movements, including early Jewish and Christian heresies, medieval occult traditions, and the secret religious practices of forced converts. The influence of Jewish mysticism, particularly through Kabbalah and other esoteric teachings, has shaped various forms of Satanism, from Aleister Crowley's Thelema to the structured satanic organizations of Anton LaVey, Michael Aquino, and Malcolm Jarry. These figures, often connected by their Jewish heritage, have played key roles in the development of modern satanic thought, whether in a theistic, atheistic, or symbolic framework. Despite its varied interpretations, theistic Christian Satanism remains a highly controversial belief system, facing rejection from both mainstream Christianity and many within the Satanic community. While some see it as a path to enlightenment, personal liberation, or hidden spiritual truths, others view it as a distortion of religious teachings or a rejection of traditional moral frameworks. Ultimately, the presence of Jewish influence across Christianity, Islam, and Satanic movements underscores the inescapable imprint of Jewish theology on religious history. Whether embraced, reinterpreted, or opposed, the foundational structures of Judaism continue to shape spiritual discourse, even in movements that claim to stand in direct opposition to it.